All right, so I'm going to teach you about multiplying radicals, okay? Sorry I'm not here. But sometimes you're going to see something like this. The radical of 5 times the radical of 6. It also might be written as the radical 5, radical 6, like this with parentheses. They mean the same thing, okay? So you can have parentheses or a dot. They both just mean multiplying. It's pretty easy. What's 5 times 6? 30. So it's just the radical of 30. Okay? Now, as always, if we can simplify this answer, we will. But as you see, 30 simplifies to 2 and 15, and 15 simplifies to 3 and 5. I don't have any pairs, so 30 cannot simplify. So your final answer would be the square root of 30. Okay? Easy, right? Easy peasy. Doesn't get any easier than that. You may see a problem that has 3 radicals. So something like 2, radical 2, radical 5, and radical 7, just for fun. Okay? In this case, you're going to multiply 2 times 5 to get you radical 10. Right? Multiply those together, we get 10. And then 10 times 7 is going to give me the radical 70. Okay? So 2 times 5 is 10. 10 times 7 is 70. Now, radical 70, is that going to simplify at all? We're going to check. It ends with a 0, so I'm going to divide it by 10 to make life easy. So I end up with 7 and 10. And then when I divide 10, I get 2 and 5 after that's factored. 7, 2, and 5, there are no pairs, so this doesn't factor any further. So I'm done. My final answer would be radical 70. That's 2 times 5 is 10, 10 times 7 is 70. All right, pretty easy. And if I had used parentheses instead, it would be the same thing. We're still just multiplying across, okay? So that's multiplying radicals together. Those are the easy ones. Now, you will have some problems that are a little bit tougher. You might have something like 3 radical 5 times, let me think of one, 2 radical 15. All right, 3 radical 5 times 2 radical 15. In this case, I'm going to color code this for you to make your life a little bit easier. You're going to multiply your, You are going to multiply your coefficients together, so the numbers in front, the numbers on the outside get multiplied together to be, I'm just going to write it right here, 6. 3 times 2 is 6, right? But then when we move to our radical, I'm going to do 5 times 15. So I multiply these two together, okay? And 5 times 15 gives me 75. Now, all our multiplication is done. 3 times 2 gave me 6, and 5 times 15 gave me 75. At this point, we have to ask, can we simplify 75? Well, you guys know if it ends in a 5, that you can divide by 5, but the number 75 is a super easy one because you have 3 quarters. Each quarter is 25 cents. That's how I always think about it. 25 is going to fit into 75 cents 3 times. So I'm going to do 3 and 25. But you also could just divide by 5 in your calculator and get 5 and 15. That's fine too. 25 factors into 5 and 5. So you have a pair of 5s, right? Which is stuff we practiced on our quiz yesterday, so you're familiar with this. My 5 is going to come out here and multiply by my 6. 5 times 6 will give me a 30. And the only thing I have left over is the 3 right here. So I have radical 3 left on the inside. Okay, so you'll have some problems like that. If you need to go back and watch this video again, feel free. But that's what some of your videos or some of your problems will look like. Okay, so you multiply the outsides together, and then the insides, the radicals themselves, and then just simplify like we've been practicing. Okay. Next, you may have some problems that look something like this. No, that's not going to work. Sure it will. Radical 10 times radical 15. There are two ways you can do this, okay? I'm going to show you one way first, and then I'll show you the second way. The first way is I just multiply these two numbers together, okay? I can get 10 times 15 to give me radical 150, and then 150 simplifies into 10 and 15, of course. 2 and 5, and 15 simplifies into 3 and 5, okay? So I have a pair of 5s there, and again, I did that pretty quick, so feel free to go back and watch it again. But I know 10 times 15 is 150, 2 times 5 is 10, and 3 times 5 is 15. So with a pair of 5s, I have a 5 on the outside as my square root of 25, and then 2 times 3 is a 6 on the inside. And this would be your final answer for the square root of 10 times the square root of 15. That's one way to do it. But I feel like that is a little bit repetitive because we already see we had a 10 and we already see we had a 15 here. So there's a trick that you can do, which is factoring these two radicals before you actually multiply them. Because we know that the square root of 10 times the square root of 15 is the same thing as the square root of 10 times 15. So essentially, we know that since this is the square root of 150, that is the same as this is the same as that I can actually just start factoring these right away instead of waiting till I multiply to factor. So I can factor 10 to be 2 and 5 right at the very beginning. And I can factor 15 to be 5 and 2, or 5 and 3 right at the very beginning. And now, right away, I can treat this as one radical because I know that these are just factors of a larger radical. So I have a pair of 5s right here, and I'm just going to say, I'm going to pull that pair out right away. 5 on the outside, and I've got my 2 and 3 here that are left over. I multiply those together and get 6 on the inside. So you can even skip that whole multiplication process and just factor them together and treat them like they're one radical. Let's do that one more time just for practice sake. We're going to use radical 6 times radical 21. Okay? So I know I can factor 6 into 2 times 3. And I know I can factor 21 into 3 times 7. Whoops, I don't know why I wrote a 6 here. I see I have a pair of 3s right here, so I'm going to put a 3 on the outside. 2 times 7 is 14. So I don't even have to multiply these together. You can do 6 times 21, and you can get 126, radical 126. Right? Yeah. But then this is going to factor into, guess what? 6 and 21. And that's going to factor into 3 and 7, and that's going to factor into 2 and 3. And again, you're just going to do the same thing. So why even bother with this step when we can just factor at the very beginning? Okay? All right, that is multiplying radicals. Hope it makes sense. Make sure that you watch this video. You can watch through it several times if you need to, and get your worksheet done. Oh, there is one other. What if I had? Oh no, we did that already. No, I didn't. 2 square root 7, and I squared that. Okay? 2 square root 7, and I squared it. Well, as we talked about already, if I square a radical, the square root of 7 times the square root of 7, that is just 7, right? We're going to apply this exponent of 2 to both of these terms. So squaring the square root of 7 just gives me the number 7, okay? But if I square 2, that's just 2 squared, 2 times 2 is 4. This problem just becomes 4 times 7, and 4 times 7 is 28. So that makes your life pretty easy. These problems are easy. Kids get confused on them, but it's simply that easy. And if I had a negative sign in the front, it would just be negative 28. Okay? If I had a negative sign here instead, Now when I square -2, I'd have -2 times -2. That would just give me a +4 here, so that wouldn't change anything, and I would still end up with +28. That concludes multiplying radicals. Hope you guys have a great day, have a good weekend, and I'll see you Monday.